Hello and welcome back to the Frugal Granny channel. My name's Ali, I'm Frugal Granny. I'm a 64 and 3/4 year old semi-retiree, and on Mondays I've now started to do what I'm calling a Monday magazine or Magazine Monday, which are snippets of my life during the previous week that I think might interest you from a frugal living point of view. So today I've got a little bit of a follow-up on the toilet rolls that I bought last week, a little bit of a follow-up on freezing eggs, and a bit of a confession to make about shopping, among other things. So I do hope you enjoy. If you're new, you're very welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, it's lovely to see you. Before I start, I just want to sort of clarify something I said in my last video about turning off SuperThanks for that video. In my last video, I did mention that I'd had quite a lot of steep bills last week, and I really did not want people to think that I had come onto YouTube to beg for money to cover those bills, and so I turned off the SuperThanks temporarily on that video because I didn't want a lot of people rushing to dig into their pockets and send me money. And I'm really sorry that I've obviously offended a few people by doing that, but I have in the past, in comments that have been deleted quite a long time ago now, been called an internet beggar, and that is the last thing I want to be labelled as. I'm not too proud to accept support, and I've accepted a lot of support during my life, but at the same time I did not want anyone to think that I had made my last video primarily to ask people to dig into their pockets and pay those bills for me, because apart from the glasses, which are a bit of a surprise, the rest of it was planned and the money is in my sinking funds. Thank you for understanding anyway, and on to more cheerful things now with my big confession. I'm here to make a confession. I know I said I wasn't going to spend any money on food this month unless I needed to. Well, I've just gone and stabbed myself in the foot with that one. I noticed over the weekend that I had got a 10% discount voucher for chicken and a 15% discount voucher for bacon. And as I was wandering around the store, I think on Saturday early evening, I noticed that the 1.6 kilogram trays of fresh chicken breasts and the back bacon were both on loyalty card offer. And also at this time of the year, staff are very lucky. We have 15% discount instead of 10%. So I thought it would be a little bit foolish to miss the opportunity of compounding 3 discounts to stock up my freezer with chicken and bacon for the next few months. Anyway, I went to look for the chicken and the bacon, and of course there was nothing on the shelf. There never is when these offers are on. So I decided the only way to do this was to order it online as a click and collect, because the click and collect orders get priority. They're done before the main rush of shoppers come into the shop every day. So I looked online and I found that there was a free click and collect slot at between 7 and 8 a.m. on Monday. So I booked that. And if you're ordering online, you have to spend £40 to avoid a minimum basket charge. So I was constrained, and I knew this, to spend £40 before I'd even started. So I put 4 trays of chicken in my basket and 12 packets of bacon. And along with the loyalty card prices, the summer staff discounts, and my 2 coupons, I managed to get that down from £59 to £44, not including the pennies. So I was really pleased about that. I went to pick that up this morning. I've already got the 12 packets of bacon into my medium-sized freezer downstairs in the cellar. And now I'm going to prep the chicken. I'm going to do maybe 1 tray a day because it doesn't have to be frozen till the 14th. and I just thought you'd like to follow along to see me doing that. I've decided to cube the chicken breast because it will actually take up less room in the freezer, and I'm basically planning 1 packet of bacon a week, which, including what I've already got, will probably last me 3 to 4 months, which will get me through to New Year, and the same with the chicken. So anyway, I'm just going to get the first tray out of the fridge. I tend to cut them up into cubes and freeze them in 200 gram portions, because 100 grams is a single serving. So if I'm going to make a curry for 2, I really need a 200 gram bag of cubed chicken. Or if I'm making a chorizo and chicken pasta bake, same again. So I cut them up, weigh them into 200 gram portions, and then they go straight in the freezer. Anyway, let's get to it. Basically open the tray and then just cut it up and portion it out. Right, so there's the first tray processed, and as you can see, it's a lot more compact when it's cubed and put into bags. I sort of squash them into a sausage shape, I roll them up to get the air out, and then finish sealing the bag, and those will now all go into the freezer. So when you think about how big that tray is, trying to fit 4 of those trays in the freezer compared to that little parcel is a lot more efficient. There's a lot less sort of wasted space. Hi, it's 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and I just couldn't resist this. I just had to look at the old toilet roll packets compared to the new ones. This is a 6 white double rolls 2-ply, all right? Six rolls of this is equivalent to 12 rolls of normal loo paper. Now, the one I bought today, excuse the lighting because it is 1 o'clock in the morning, same brand, but it's saying here that these are not double rolls, but they are longer rolls, and I'm getting 8 instead of 6, but they still equal 12 normal ones. So the only way I could think to test this was to take them downstairs, yes, at 1 o'clock in the morning, and weigh them on the kitchen scales, and both packets weigh 900 grams. So although there's 6 white double rolls in that one, and there's 8 white longer rolls in that one, we're actually getting the same weight of toilet tissue. I'm not saying we're getting the same length or the same thickness, but we're getting the same weight. I told you this afternoon that those 2 Spring-Force toilet roll 8 white longer rolls were £3.10 each. Now this is the old receipt. 2 Spring-Force toilet tissue 6 white double rolls, £2.65 each. So let me get my maths right. That's an extra 45 pence that's gone up. So from the 6th of June till the 10th of August, which is 2 months effectively, the same weight of toilet tissue has gone up by 45p. And I don't know why they've sort of changed the packaging and the format, but it does confuse you slightly, and maybe you don't realise that it's gone up that much. But anyway, that's a crazy sort of thing I do at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if that's of any interest to you, but at least it's put my curious mind at rest. Hello, I'm just jumping back on here now to show you the things that I bought yesterday. I know I said in Coffee and Catch Up 14 that I wasn't going to buy anything else in week 2, But I came home with these things after a shift yesterday, and the tins are mainly for my prepper pantry, and the tomatoes and beans are for meals while I have my friend here over the weekend. Now, I bought the tomatoes because I'm beginning to run a bit low with those in my pantry, and the date on those is August next year, so they'll last a good time. And I've bought the tinned fish because there does seem to be a bit of a shortage of tinned fish at the moment, and I have noticed that the shelves are often empty and that the price is going up. So I found 3 undamaged tins on the shelves yesterday of the sardines in tomato sauce, so I bought those. They are still 47p each, whereas the mackerel in sunflower oil is £1 each. So I was able to just about afford that with the money I have left in week 2. That all cost me £8.05, including a saving of £1.89. So that may have taken me a little bit over my £7.50 balance, but I'll take the 50p out of my discretionary spending for this week and we're all good. Okay, there you are, there's the receipt, just for your information. So I'm now all spent up for weeks 1 and weeks 2 and all of week 3. So I'm definitely going to be living out of the freezer for the rest of week 3. Right, this bit of the video I'm going to talk a bit about freezing eggs. There's been quite a lot of questions about the silicone ice cube tray that I use for freezing beaten eggs, chicken stock, tomato puree, pesto, apple pectin. And so I'm going to show you the ice tray and I will measure it so you know the dimensions, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. Okay, I hope I'm talking loud enough. I'm talking extra loud so that I don't have to detach the audio and do a voiceover. But this is the silicone ice tray that I use for freezing things that I then store in my freezer. I got this quite a few years ago in Morrison's supermarket, and I think it was about £2.50 at the time. They do, I believe, from looking at their website, still stock something similar, but it has four wells rather than 6, and I think it's a lot more than £2.50 now. They don't have it in stock in my local Morrison's. I have looked online. You can find these on Amazon. I've seen something similar in John Lewis, but the one in John Lewis is quite expensive and it's got reinforced corners here to stop the ice cube tray bowing when it's full of liquid and you're trying to transfer it to the fridge. The ones I've seen on Amazon sometimes seem to be in sets of 3, each with their own lid, and that also would be very helpful. Anyway, I'm going to keep on with the one I've got because I don't want to invest in any more, but let me just measure this for you now. The ice cubes are about 2 inches square and they are not quite, possibly just short of 2 inches deep. So there you are, it's a 2-inch cubed ice cube tray with 6 wells. Right, I'm just going to show you now how I freeze beaten eggs. So if you are in the supermarket and you come across eggs on a really good clearance offer and they are quite close to their best before date, you can actually bring them home and beat them and freeze them for use at another time. And I tend to keep quite a few frozen beaten eggs in my freezer, and I can use them for scrambling, for putting in quiches, for making muffins, waffle mix, pancake mix, and putting in cakes. So if, say, I've got eggs that are well within date and I want to make a cake, but I also want to save eggs for fried eggs for some reason, and I've not really got enough to go round, I can use the eggs that I've frozen. You do have to thaw them out overnight, and it can look a little bit grim, but if you can get past that, I can assure you that it does actually work. Best to thaw them out in the fridge so that they never come out of the safe temperature range into the more dangerous temperature range. Okay, so now I'm going to beat the eggs up. And then I'm going to distribute this evenly between the 6 wells. So there will effectively be 1 egg in each well. Try and get the same amount of beaten egg in each one. As I've said before, the spatula is the Frugal cook's best friend. Let's just scrape all that down. And then I'm just going to transfer that carefully into the freezer, and then tomorrow morning I will turn those out into a plastic bag and put them back in the freezer again. And here for reference are some frozen eggs. You can see them frozen there like that. So if I'm going to make muffins, I will get 2 of those cubes out, leave them in a bowl in the fridge overnight to defrost, and then add them to the wet mix of the muffins the next day. The other question that I have been asked is about my garden sink station that I built, and you can see that here. Effectively, I cut up a couple of pallets. Actually, I think there I've cut a pallet in half, and I've also cut some cross pieces from another pallet and used those to space those 2 half pallets out. So I've like got an under shelf and a top shelf, and I've painted those black with, I think I used blackboard paint because that's just what I had in my cellar. And then on top I've got a plastic trough that I bought from Amazon. I think it was listed as a dog washing trough, and it has a hole drilled in the side at the bottom and a tap attached to it. The tap has a sorry, I've lost the word for a minute, but it's got an end that you can attach a hosepipe connector to. Now you can see that there. So I've attached a small amount of hosepipe to that actually goes down into my drain there. Now the drain is guarded by the old fender from the fireplace that I took out in the front room. I just kept it because it was decorative and it seemed useful. And then I put the trough on the top of there, and there's also a bit of hosepipe connected from the tap I've got in the wall down into the trough, and that hosepipe's just useful so I don't have to lift the watering can up off the floor to fill it up, and it's also useful if I need to spray down the patio. Also in the picture you can see that I've got a rainwater collection system attached to my downpipe there, and that feeds the rainwater via this pipe here to a water butt that is now freely covered by my jasmine plant. So once that water butt there, I think it's a 52 litre water butt. 1 minute. And once that water butt's full up, any excess rainwater just bypasses the collecting apparatus and goes straight down into the drain. So the water butt is not connected to the trough in any way, but there's a tap at the bottom of the water butt, and I can put a bucket under it or a watering can under it. I can attach a hose pipe to it. So basically that is my outside sink station. Theoretically, if for some reason I needed to wash a large item of material, I could wash it in that, but obviously the water would be cold, it wouldn't be hot. But I could bring a bucket of hot water out and put that in there and use it for washing. I tend to use the trough for washing up flower pots and seat trays and that sort of thing, and for catching water. Sometimes I'll put a rack over it, and if I'm watering plants in plant pots and I know that the water's going to drain through, then it's good for it to be able to drain through into the trough, and then I can save that water and then drain it off through the drain pipe there straight into a watering can. So effectively that's that. I hope that answers that question. I mean, it's not ideal. I've had neighbours in the past who've had a proper sink outside that they use as part of an outdoor kitchen, but that's as good as it gets for me. I hope that answers that question. Anyway, thank you for joining me for another Magazine Monday, and I will see you on Thursday for Coffee and Catch Up 15. And until then, I hope you have a really good beginning of the week. And here, of course, is a little kiddie fix, and I've managed to catch her eating her lunch. Bye for now, and thank you so much for watching.